Yup, it's finally that time of year again, so you know what we're about to get into. Honestly, I don't have anything to say about Halloween. I said all I needed in those Halloween episodes, which I highly recommend you go watch, especially if you're new and don't know what's going on here. Also, watching the rest of those episodes video wouldn't be a bad idea either. Now, the first video was me talking about those classic beloved Halloween episodes I grew up watching, but this time around, the majority of these I have not seen, so this should be interesting. I'm a little excited. With that out the way, let's get into it. The Replacements Halloween episode, you got Todd, his dad, Buzz, and his dad competing to see whose side of the street will have the best decorated houses. Because for the last 5 years, Buzz and his dad have won the coveted Golden Ghost trophy, and it's looking like they might win it again this year. Because one of the neighbors on Todd and Riley's side, the Kelman, never decorate their houses for any holiday, so they decided to call Mr. Fleem and have them replaced with new neighbors who have a lot of Halloween spirit. Todd and Riley are ecstatic, but the new neighbors might be a real vampire and a witch. Riley called Mr. Fleem again. He says he was just about to call her, that he's sorry that the Kelmans refused to be replaced. Todd and Riley try to get help from their parents, but they don't believe anything is out of the ordinary. So with the help of Todd and Riley's friend, they go into the neighbor's house to investigate. Yeah, you know this is where everything goes downhill. Their friends get captured, their parents are zombies, then when they go back to the house to save everyone, they fall into a trap. Now they have to avoid all the dangers that lurk in this dungeon looking basement. Of course they end up getting captured, and it looks like all hope is lost. But this was all an elaborate setup for the best Halloween of their lives. Even the Kelpmen were in on it. Okay, this episode, honestly for a show that's been forgotten about, I would also say underrated too, but it's been so long since I watched this show. Compared to other Disney Channel shows and shows from the early 2000s, late 90s with Halloween episodes, this is definitely one of the better ones. I think this is a really solid and good Halloween episode. It really has that Halloween spirit and it hits all the marks if you had a checklist for what you want in a Halloween episode. Also, the little twist of the Kelmans never actually being replaced and they having you thinking, if they didn't get replaced, then who the fuck? It's a nice touch to the episode. Next, Danny Phantom's Halloween episode. You have Danny and Dash who get in trouble with Mr. Lancer, so he makes them participate in the school's haunted house. He gives them both their own room to decorate, and whoever has the scariest room won't get detention. Also, Dash adds in that if Danny loses, he has to eat his dirty, crusty, biohazard underwear. After getting inspiration from a book Sam bought about the Phantom Knight, Danny is confident in his room until he sees Dash's. So Danny decides to go to the Ghost Zone to find the Phantom Knight's castle. He infiltrates it and finds the Phantom Knight's sword. After removing it from the pumpkin, Danny thinks everything is fine, but he ended up unsealing the Phantom Knight, and he wants his sword back so he can continue his reign of terror. Danny just needs it until midnight, so he escapes from the Phantom Knight, or so he thought, because the Phantom Knight said, "Nah, I'm him," and forces open the door. Yeah, this is when everything is wacky, and Danny almost ruins Halloween. Inanimate objects are beginning to come to life, but with the help of Sam, Danny's able to defeat the Phantom Knight and steal him away again. Now this episode, not much thoughts on it. It's straightforward, nothing crazy. You know, Danny, again, almost ruined another holiday, just like how he practically ruined Christmas. I don't know why he likes to do these kind of things like he's him when he's not. Now thinking about it, he really deserves to eat Dash's underwear. Which, why the hell would you even agree to that? Nah, he has to have some kind of king. And why the fuck does Dash carry around such a vile thing with him? Also, why does their book contain information on the ghost zone in some random bookstore? I think instead of this episode focusing on this boof ass haunted house, it should have been Danny and them trying to find who wrote this book. And then you have things that go bump in the night trying to stop them. Hey, that don't sound too bad. Anyways, I think this episode is okay. You're not missing anything. Next episode, Family Matters Halloween episode. You have Steve who wants to be a ventriloquist. He even has a dummy of himself. He tries practicing in front of the Winslows. Yeah, they tell him he's dog shit to give it up, buddy. Steve goes to his room upset. He just wishes the dummy could talk. Steve goes to sleep. I think he still has his clothes and shoes on, like whatever. Lightning strikes the dummy and it comes to life. This is when everything gets nutty and all logic is just thrown out the window. From now on, the dummy wants to be called Steve-O. The one goal Steve-O has is to get rid of the Winslows. It makes him sick that they're such a nice family. After locking away Steve-O, Steve tries to warn Carl, but obviously he doesn't believe this nonsense. Steve thinks everyone is safe now, but come on, Steve-O breaks free. And one by one, he gets rid of the family. He somehow snatches Eddie up the chimney. Strong ass demon doll. He even knows how to drive a car. He chases down Richie and 3J. He puts them on the wall above Steve's bed. Then Steve will somehow separates Laura's body and puts her in the cabinets and put Harriet in a jack-in-the-box. All who is left is Carl. Steve tells him about everything that's happened. Of course, he still doesn't believe him. And even if that was true, would that really be such a bad thing? Yeah, it turns out Steve already got Carl. After a really goofy fight, it turns out this was all a dream within a dream. Okay, this episode is a wild ride, and once the dream starts, it's just a roller coaster of what the hell am I watching? Because why is a dummy able to do all these blasphemous things? Like, how can he even drive a car? How is he able to make a hole through the fridge and the wall? I'm not gonna lie, getting yoinked up the chimney by a dummy is crazy work. At that point, don't even put up a fight. Just let him take your life. Because if anyone finds out about that, you're done. I know the Winslows find Steve to be annoying, but damn, they was really dunking on his ass when he was practicing for them. I will say the glaring problem with this episode is the shit between the actual dummy and then into someone dressed in a costume. It's pretty silly. It can take you out of it. Also, you can clearly see someone covered in black material controlling the dummy. Overall, this is an okay episode, but it is a fun watch. And in the right setting, it could be a little creepy. Next episode, the Fresh Prince's Halloween episode. You have Hillary who paid for a seance so that she can talk to Trevor and get some kind of closure. You know the guys don't want to go, so they try to make up some excuse. So Anvil decides to hit them with a crocodile tears and guilt them into going. They go over to the place and meet Scorpius. They begin the seance, and throughout the whole thing, Will's just cracking jokes. He doesn't believe in this phony. He thinks it's all an act, just one big scam. After trying to get a refund and calling Scorpius a fake, Scorpius puts a hex on Will that he'll bring evil to all those around him. Of course, Will doesn't take him seriously, and the rest of the family don't pay any mind to it. Carlton is the only one who's stressing out about it. Everything is fine until Uncle Phil receives a phone call from the DA, accusing him of taking bribes. Slowly, one by one, a misfortune befalls the family. Carlton's hair permanently changes color to look like some kind of snow cone. The tennis machine Ashley is using for practice goes haywire. Jeffrey is apparently here illegally, so he gets deported. Then the worst one of all is when Hillary falls in love with Jazz. They're both ready to get married and have kids. Uncle Phil does his daily routine with Jazz, but this time it's Uncle Phil who's thrown out. Anvil is fed up. She wants Will out of here by tonight. Will tells her, whoa, chill, hold on. I'll go back to Scorpius and get us unhexed. When Will gets to the house, it's not really the same as before, and Scorpius is just a regular man, afraid of some stranger walking into his home. He doesn't know what's going on and he can't help Will. But this was all a dream, or was it a premonition? Now this episode, I don't really have much to say on it. It's an okay episode. The Halloween portion of it is short-lived. I do wish that all the problems and bad luck that happened to the Banks family was themed around Halloween. Like the tennis ball machine going haywire was due to some kind of Halloween spirit. Maybe Carlton's hair permanently changing color was due to some Halloween myth. And instead of Haley falling in love with Jazz, it's a vampire or werewolf, maybe even a ghost. And when Will goes back to Scorpius, the house is now old and decrepit. And it was actually an evil spirit, a trickster of some sorts behind this. Oh my god, put me on the writing staff. Next episode, Cow and Chicken's Halloween episode. I don't know what the hell I just watched. I don't know what I just witnessed. I didn't even think this had a Halloween episode. It's really short, but those 7 minutes were really scarring. I never thought seeing a cow and chicken getting dressed up as humans would be something so disturbing. I think this was a one in a lifetime experience. If you want to be freaked out in an untraditional, unnatural way, I say sure, definitely go for it. I need to go bleach my eyes. Next episode. What the fuck? Sabrina's Halloween episode. You got Sabrina, who's originally supposed to go with her aunt to Aunt Beulah's, who none of them have ever met, and go to her party. But she gets out of it because she has a double date. Since she can't make it, Aunt Beulah sends Sabrina Molly Dolly. Harvey, Valerie, and her boyfriend arrive to watch scary movies for the night. Meanwhile, Aunt Zelda and Helda arrive at their Aunt Beulah's. As they're heading in, the address sign falls, revealing another sign: Insane Asylum. Back at Sabrina's, they're all enjoying themselves until Sabrina notices the doll behind them. It turns its head and blinks. After this point, everything gets pretty goofy and wacky. The doll is alive. It begins to cause havoc. It locks the doors with magic. It invites Frankenstein, the mummy, and the Wolfman. All while this is happening, Aunt Zelda and Helda have figured out everyone at the party is a nut job. They try to use magic to leave, but it was nullified from the candy corn they ate, so they try to find some other way to escape. After a wild goose chase, they eventually get caught and switch bodies with chickens. Meanwhile, Sabrina tussles with the Molly Dolly and blindfolds her, which was useless. Then she heads to Aunt Beulah's to get her aunt's help, and we find out this isn't really an insane asylum. It was just a themed party. They head back to the mortal realm with Aunt Beulah, and the Molly Dolly is just terrorizing Sabrina's friends. After Aunt Beulah sings, or I guess yell, Molly Dolly agrees to stop being a menace. Oh, and it turns out it wasn't Molly Dolly who invited the Wolfman. Yikes. Okay, this episode, I know if you have a fear of dolls, this episode terrified you. I never had fear of dolls, but I can say there are certain scenes that are a little unsettling. Why do you even get a doll like this? And why the hell does it have powers? I don't know how this is supposedly made for kids to have fun with. No, I think it was interesting that they're trapped in the house and they do a really good job of playing into it. But didn't Frankenstein rip open the back doors? Like, couldn't they just walk out that way and escape? Like, whatever. Also, how big is this house? It seems like there's endless places to hide. Another thing, Aunt Helda says Aunt Beulah's parties are boring. How would she know that though if she's never been to one? Kind of weird, because to me they look like they know how to have a good time. The theme party this time is kind of insane, no pun intended. Pretending to have a screw loose is nasty work. Overall though, I think it's really good. Out of all the episodes I watched for this video, this is definitely top 3. On to the next. South Park's Halloween episode. I don't even know how to summarize this one. There's a lot of wild things going on. Plus, if you grew up watching South Park, you know this one. It's a classic. I think this episode is really good and it's definitely a must watch, especially if you're a degenerate. Having Satan throw a party in the style of Super Sweet 16 and him turn into a bratty snob is insane. Also, Satan changing his costume last minute instead of going as a raven. He said, nah, I'm a bad bitch. I'm gonna be Britney Spears. Just perfect. Then you have Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and John Wayne Gacy in the form of the Three Stooges. Watching this as a kid, I didn't know who any of these men were, so this part of the episode was whatever to my dumb kid brain. But as an adult, now I know who they actually are and all the truly heinous things they've done is fucking wild. I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to let these demonic, sick, twisted individuals be responsible for picking up and delivering Satan's cake. The whole time they just offer anyone they cross paths with. And when they ruin the cake, which by the way, how the hell do you make a card cake cake. They just begin to mutilate each other. What I really want to know is, how are they paying for all this? Like, what kind of income are they making down to hell? Also, before I forget, you got Biggie Smalls, who's basically Bloody Mary. Say his name 3 times in the mirror, he'll come bust a cap in your ass. But the most out of pocket thing about this episode, the priest. Hey, yo, what the fuck? Yo, yeah. Next episode. Regular show's Halloween episode. You got Mordecai and Rigby trick-or-treating. Mordecai's ready to call a night. Rigby, on the other hand, wants to go to one more house. So he decides on an old creepy house. As he's knocking on the door, the owner turns off the porch light. This infuriates Rigby, so he decides to exit the house. But before he can do that, a cop appears out of nowhere like this is a Cyberpunk before the 2.0 update. Rigby doesn't want to get in trouble, so he tells the officer it's his snack and eats a raw fucking egg. The cop leaves and Rigby proceeds going through with egg in the house. As they're about to leave, the wind kicks up and someone opens the door. It's a wizard. He zooms toward Rigby and tells him he's gonna pay for that. He rips a piece of Rigby's fur while cackling. The next day, Rigby is worried that the wizard is coming to get him. He's starting to see things. He doesn't feel so good. Then an address playing a doorknob emerges from his body. As they're heading out to go apologize, Rigby's body continues to transform, so he can't move anymore. Mordecai gets to the wizard's house and apologizes, but no one answers. Skip tells Mordecai to return to the park ASAP. When he gets back to the park, Rigby has fully transformed into a house. It's a nice place. The wizard calls. He tells Rigby that it's not over. He's just getting started. Annoyed, Benson demands the wizard to change Rigby back. The wizard doesn't like being told what to do, so he chokes the fuck out of Benson. And since Benson interrupted him, they're all gonna pay. See you soon. Yeah, they never stood a chance. It's a goddamn roast. They're getting taken out one by one. Now it's finally Rigby's turn. The wizard eggs him.
Huh? What?
He did all this just to see how he likes it. But this was just a scary story Rigby was telling. Or was it the
Happy Halloween?
Yeah, this episode is something special. You know, when Skips was in touch with cosmic and supernatural entities, can't even do anything about this wizard. It's a problem. It's raps. And GG. Like, what are you even supposed to do against a psychotic wizard who murked all your friends all because Benson interrupted him and you egged his house? You know, instead of him just getting his simple get back and egging the house back or TP in it, he said, I'm gonna take it to a whole new level. The likes that no one has ever seen before. And getting it back in blood. You can't lie, he's a genius. Speaking of eggs, getting covered in the yolk of this giant ass egg is and then Rigby eating the raw egg is disgusting. Honestly, for a show like Regular Show that gets pretty wacky and out there, this episode low-key has a creepy vibe to it. Overall, great episode, a lot of funny moments, especially the scene with Benson hiding from the wizard. Then the next frame he's getting flushed down the toilet. That really had me weak. Next, and finally, Buffy's Halloween episode. I hope you still got some snacks. This might be a long one. You got Oz and Xander bringing the sound system to one of the frat houses for the Halloween party. One of them is painting some kind of demonic sigil on the floor that he saw from a book. Oz cuts himself when fixing one of the speakers. While shaking his hand to ease the pain, he gets blood on the sigil and it activates. Later on that night, the party has started and everyone is enjoying themselves. That is until one of the guests gets a handful of eyeballs. Meanwhile, Buffy and her friends are on their way to the party. Back at the party, everything has gone off the rails. Everyone is terrified of something. Buffy, Will, Oz, and Xander arrive. Nothing seems out of the ordinary. They follow the sign to get to the party. As they're walking through the house, Buffy spots blood on the floor, and it's real blood. Then Buffy hears some kind of squeaking. They look up to see a bunch of bats. The bats swarm them and leave, but it might have just been rubber bats. As they're all wondering what the hell is going on, they hear a deep, gravelly voice saying,
Or it might be something else.
Anya arrives at the party, but there's no door. She goes to the front lawn and hears someone screaming at the window. Then the house makes the window disappear. So she goes to Giles for help. Back to Buffy. They're all trying to figure out where they came in from because the door and stairs are gone. Then Buffy hears some kind of noise coming from the closet. It's the frat member that painted the sigil. He's scared. All he says is, it's alive. A plastic skeleton turns into a real one. As they're asking him what he means, the skeleton attacks Buffy. She kicks it away and is back to being a plastic skeleton. The house continues to play these sinister tricks. The closet disappears. Buffy and Will go separate ways after an argument on what they should do. Xander can't be seen or heard. Oz is transforming into a werewolf. Will's incantation backfires on her. Buffy hears Will yelling for help, but it was a trap and she falls into a basement. She gets attacked by zombies. Meanwhile, Giles has finally arrived. The only way for them to get in is by creating a door with a goddamn chainsaw. Buffy fights back and gets away. She gets reunited with her friends. They find the book with the info on the sigil. It's a summon spell for Gaknar. It feeds on everyone's fears to manifest. Giles gets to where everyone is. He reads what it says on Gaknar, that there's 2 ways to shut down the spell. Destroying the mark on Gaknar. As he's saying this, Buffy breaks the floorboard.
Is not one of them, and will in fact immediately bring forth the fear demon itself.
The Dark Lord of Nightmares, Gaknar. Yeah.
Embarrassing.
Okay, this episode, honestly, it really surprised me. I never watched Buffy, so the first half of it was irrelevant to me, and I was ready to cut it off. Something about Buffy's guts getting rearranged and dug out like a pumpkin, something about a one night stand, blah blah from the last episode. But thankfully, the second half is where the Halloween part of it starts. It really hooked me in. There's just so many things slowly happening and unraveling. I don't know if this video will be out before or after. Spoilers, I guess, to the next video. Those are actually scary episodes, but I will say this episode is scary and ominous. If this wasn't Halloween theme, I would switch out the Buffy episode I put in that video for this one. Also, if that video isn't out, be on the lookout for it. You know, you really feel that sense of dread and isolation where everyone gets separated from each other. It constantly keeps you on your toes, wondering when or will something ever pop out. I think the music and sound effects are really good.
Go, bro.
Also, I know Buffy is a slayer, she's a badass, but getting stabbed in the back and just eating that shit like it was nothing is pretty... Another thing, Gagnar being such a tiny demon is a cute twist, and if Giles had more time to read, he would have found out that it said actual size, so that was pretty clever and funny. Overall, this episode is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. Well, that's all the episodes I had to talk about. I know there's a lot more Halloween episodes, but the majority of them I have no interest in, and I know the shows I have talked about before have multiple Halloween episodes, so I do have something planned for that next year. That also goes without saying, this is the last of those Halloween episodes video, which sounds sad to say. This is what started the series, but obviously don't worry, I still have more of those episodes videos planned. Now let me know your thoughts in the comments. What's your favorite Halloween episode? What's your favorite Halloween candy? Or just leave a random comment. So with that, I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. Share with whoever you think might enjoy my content. Other than that, I'm out.
I told you I was ripped.